Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. Served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is time again as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, out here at Summerfest by the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you by Lexus and The Fan. Come on out, take your best shot at the Hole-in-One. It's an island hole, so you got to get it up and over the water. Surely, Charlie, you could do better than Kevin Holden, who just dunked it right off the tee and into the water. Surely you could get some air underneath the ball.
From my experience, it's either going like 250 plus or it's going right in the water like Kevin Holden. It's no in between.
Really?
I crank it or I just completely whiff. Yeah, every time.
Wow. I didn't think it would be like that. I thought you just smashed the ball. Like 250 plus, that sounds good. I'm not quite sure I've ever hit a ball 250 in my life, to be honest with you. That's just not a thing. I'm like 200, 215, maybe.
Well, I will say I cheat a little bit. Again, like I've said before, I really only use the driver because I only like going to the driving range with my friends. So when we go golfing, if I can use the driver, I use the driver.
Okay, let's get to our number 2 here, out here at Summerfest. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Tim Dillard, FanDuel Network sports analyst. Tim Dillard will join us coming up at 3:20 like he does each and every Thursday. And again, it's great talking to Tim Dillard. I cannot wait to hear what Tim Dillard has to say about Jacob Misiorowski and the loss of speed that he had throughout that outing last night, a shortened outing, giving up 5 runs there in the second inning, including a grand slam as part of that whole deal. So we'll talk to him about Misiorowski coming up at 3:20. Charlie, Sounds of the Day comes up at 3:40. I really did not think that we would be talking about stuff that John Henson says. I mean, I know he does podcasting and all of that stuff, and obviously a lot of people watch it and so forth, and he's good at what he does, especially talking about college basketball and so forth. But John Henson got to talking about Giannis and the idea of, Giannis doesn't know what's going on or Giannis has all the power. Everybody's got a split opinion on how much Giannis is truly aware of what's going on before it happens. Because, of course, they make the Miles Turner deal and then Lillard gets moved or released and it's, whoa, Giannis isn't happy or whatever. Okay, fine. But then there's a lot of people like, dude, come on. There's no way Giannis didn't know about this probably. He definitely knew about Miles Turner coming. I think that's all been confirmed. Whether or not he knew Lillard was going to be released the way they did it, I don't know. But here is John Henson. What video is this from? What podcast is this from?
This is from SiriusXM NBA Radio.
SiriusXM NBA Radio, former Bucks forward, former first-round pick of the Milwaukee Bucks, John Henson, talking about his experience with Giannis when Giannis was a younger player, when Henson was here in Milwaukee.
I know for a fact that also Giannis, when he was younger, they would call him about trades and do you want this guy or that guy? He'd be like, I don't want to listen, do your job. Like you do what you do and, we'll go from there. Specifically, there was a trade I talked about a long time ago, Chris Middleton for Jimmy Butler swap. Giannis was like, nah, we're not doing that. So that was the only time I ever seen him kind of stand up and say something. So if something's wrong, he will say something, but for the most part, he lets the front office do his thing. And I think the Bucks are going to be somewhat competitive with Kuzma. They got to add some pieces, but they'll be in the mix.
Kuzma? What are you talking about? Let's not even talk about that nonsense Kuzma comment that he made. Let's just stick with the idea that he said that Giannis turned down a Middleton for Jimmy Butler deal. They went to him. They said, what do you think of this? John Henson said, nope. Not John Henson. Giannis said, nope, I don't want Jimmy Butler essentially for Chris Middleton. We're good. Now, that goes back to the relationship that he had with Chris Middleton. Remember, these guys kind of grew this thing together. They're godparents to each other's kids and all this other stuff that's going on. So there clearly is a big relationship. The question is quite simple, if we're being honest. Do you wish they would have done it? Do you wish they would have made the deal that John Henson says that Giannis turned down? Do you wish they would have traded Middleton for Jimmy Butler back in the day? Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line 677-1250, 414-677-1250. Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app. Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's. Broadcasting live from Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you by Lexus and The Fan. So 2 things here. Number one, I think Jimmy Butler's a better basketball player in his prime than probably Chris Middleton was in his prime. That's the first thing. However, the second thing is Jimmy Butler has been a problem child by the time his tenure is up everywhere he's been since the Miami deal got done. Now, having said that, maybe Jimmy Butler's long tenure, like he had in Miami, would have happened in Milwaukee. But even before he got to Miami, remember that fiasco in Minnesota? He was all hacked off at the T-Wolves and how that whole thing was being handled. And Jimmy Butler, who had been away from the team for days, shows up at a practice, takes essentially the second and third string guys against the starting lineup, and goes in there, whoops up on the starting lineup by himself. They had Wiggins, they had Karl Anthony Towns. That was a pretty good starting lineup. Killed him. Walked out of the gym, dropped the basketball, and left. And cussed them all out or whatever. And then they obviously had to trade him. Because he was mad that those guys weren't mentally tougher. Those guys weren't into it as much as he was. Towns wasn't into it. Wiggins wasn't into it. That's what he was mad about. Okay. So then it didn't work out. He goes to Miami. Then eventually wears out his welcome in Miami after some success and pushes his way out to now Golden State. And now he's in Golden State. And he's going to end up somewhere else before this is all said and done. So while I think he's probably a better basketball player maybe than Chris Middleton was, we're talking about both in their primes and guys who could take over games. Middleton was a great second scorer for a superstar like Giannis. The other issue I have about this with Jimmy Butler is I wonder if he stunts Giannis's growth almost to a certain degree because it's all about Jimmy, and it always has been all about Jimmy, at the end of the day. Does he take a lot of shots away from Giannis? Does Giannis's development get stunted if Jimmy Butler is on that team with Giannis? So John Henson says they had a deal, Middleton for Jimmy Butler. The Bucks call Giannis, and Giannis says, nah, I'm good. We'll go with Middleton. Now, this was years ago when they were younger. What do you think? Do you wish they would have done that deal that Giannis negated, according to John Henson, the former Bucks first-round draft choice forward? Nikolai Love Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Tweet us or Facebook us at The Fan Milwaukee. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you out here at Summerfest. Looking forward to seeing you. Got some bucket hats out here. Got a whole bunch of cool stuff. Come on up. Say you heard me on the radio, and we'll take care of you. Charlie, what say you? Jimmy Butler for Chris Middleton. Would you have done it? Say it's, Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler.
It's really tough. I think this is a lot.
Probably Minnesota. To be honest with you, I bet you it was Minnesota Jimmy Butler before he got shipped to Miami.
Minnesota or Philadelphia Jimmy Butler. I think people forget he was in Philadelphia too. I think that's another place that probably wanted to get rid of him after a little while there. This is really tough because I think Chris Middleton, when he was with his Milwaukee Bucks team, fit Giannis and that play style of that team so well and blended in with what they wanted to do and was able to kind of do whatever was needed of him each night. And that was part of the reason he worked so well, and part of the reason why I think Damian Lillard, again, flustered sometimes with this team, or the team flustered with Damian Lillard, is you're changing everything. And I think that happens when you add a star that's bigger than a Chris Middleton. And Chris Middleton was probably the biggest star you could have in terms of star power alongside a Giannis for it to really truly work out the way that you want it to, where Giannis is the main piece and everybody else fits around him. The thing is with Jimmy Butler, though, is that I think he's one of the few stars across the league that does a really good job at taking a back seat when he needs to take a back seat. And he showed that with the Miami Heat multiple times, that throughout the regular season they were able to win games behind their defense, behind Bam Adebayo being really clutch on the defensive side of the ball and Tyler Hero being able to make big shots. And then Jimmy Butler in the playoffs would show out when he was needed in different areas, from three, from the mid-range, in the paint. Wherever he was needed, he was going to be an energetic player in that facet. And I think you saw that with the Warriors again this year. So I think his play style lends to being able to play alongside of Giannis because it fits very closely to what Chris Middleton did for this team. At the same time, that star power and him needing the ball eventually, not just the fact that he's able to take a couple games off, but he's not going to take 2 weeks off of being the star. He can't. That's money that's going away when he does that. That wouldn't work out for this team.
You know, it's interesting. I looked on Twitter, and you could jump aboard, obviously, Nicolay Law Fan Talk text line, which you have done that Butler for Middleton deal that apparently Giannis negated several years ago, according to John Henson. 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. David replies on Twitter at the Fan Milwaukee. When Giannis went down, if it wasn't for Chris, they don't win the title. He carried them. And yes, Jimmy also carried the Heat. But knowing that Chris and Giannis won a title together, I wouldn't change a thing. Of course, right? Who knows how this would have played out? We don't know how this would have played out. Maybe they would have won multiple rings with Jimmy Butler and Giannis than with Middleton and Giannis at the end of the day. I really think the Bucks are doing this the right way as far as going to Giannis and even earlier in his career, knowing that, listen, this is our legit superstar. We want to make sure he's happy. We want to make sure he gets to play with the guys that he wants to play with. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I give credit to Giannis in this deal. Because, again, according to John Henson, he shot down a Middleton for Jimmy Butler trade. That's fine. I get it. You're sticking with your guy, the guy that you trust next to you on the floor, the guy that you trust in the locker room, right? Being another leader beside yourself, the guy that you trust on the road to do the right thing. All of that stuff. And not saying he couldn't trust Jimmy Butler. Maybe he eventually could at that point. But they were too far down the line in that relationship for Giannis to even want to think about it. Now life's different. Life has completely changed. From the aspect of Giannis is getting older. Giannis now sees towards, the end of his career. He's probably past the halfway point of his career at this point. So now he's looking at, okay, I want to win a second ring. Now all of a sudden I think he's of the mindset of, screw these relationships. I just want a bunch of good players to play with so I can go win another one. That's what this is all about. Because Pat Connaughton, he's gone. Chris Middleton, he's gone. Brook Lopez, he's gone. All these dudes that, were ride and die guys with him for all of these years. And it's been a while now, y'all. This wasn't a 2 or 3 year deal. This has been a while that they've been ride and die together. They're all gone. So now when you start talking about, well, I don't know if he's okay with waving and stretching Damian Lillard. Man, they were together for 2 years, and they were hurt half the time. How much of a relationship could they possibly have had? After the first year, they were saying, well, we really got to talk more and build our relationship out this year and so forth. I really don't think it's that big of a deal to Giannis. Giannis is all about winning at this point. And if you have Miles Turner, and if they get Chris Paul, because Chris Haynes, an NBA insider, is saying that Chris Paul and the Bucks might be a possibility now. If that ends up being a thing, you have Chris Paul, Miles Turner, and Giannis, and you still have the position to take a Kyle Kuzma, to take a first-round pick in 2031 and something else, to go get a legitimate shooting guard or wing scorer that's going to get you 20 points a night, to go with Paul, to go with Giannis, to go with Miles Turner. You go from being a gap year team of, we're not going to be that good, to being a team that's talking about winning a championship, talking about a team that's going to compete for winning the Eastern Conference. You're that close. Chris Paul signs a veteran minimum with the Bucks. You're still in position to get another star player to add to this mix, and off you go. Off you go. Stream us live on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. Use the @ symbol at The Fan Milwaukee. Stream us live. Listen on your Odyssey app, AUDACY. Tim Dillard is here. He's waiting. He's ready. We will talk with Tim Dillard coming up next. FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analyst. Get his thoughts on how Jacob Misiorowski pitched last night. Straight ahead, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Here on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan. And it's time now for your fan weather forecast as well. Right now, 77 degrees, fair skies here at Summerfest. A low tonight of 68. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's as we broadcast live from Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you by Lexus and the Fan. Steve Sparky Fiver with you. Welcome in. Come hang out at Summerfest. This is it, folks. This is it. Last weekend going on in Summerfest right now. Do not miss out on the opportunity. Great bands and music acts performing all over Summerfest. Come on out and check it out this weekend. Joining us now, he joins us each and every Thursday at 3:20. It's not every week that I'm at Summerfest, but it's every Thursday with him on the Fan Guest Hotline powered by Gruber Law. He is Tim Dillard of FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin. Follow him on Twitter at Dim Dillard. Mr. Dillard, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you? How's Summerfest going?
Summerfest is good, man. It is going really well. It is warm, obviously, but not as warm as it's been. I mean, we're only in the high 70s at this point, so that's not horrible. Are you a guy that likes the extreme heat? Because, I mean, you don't live in Wisconsin year-round necessarily. You are in a warmer weathered climate state in Tennessee. Do you like the heat? Because, like my producer, it's above 75. He's sweating like a pig, and it's over, and he wants air conditioning. So what is it like for you?
I mean, if I'm playing baseball, I didn't care how hot it was. You know, if we played in New Orleans or Florida or wherever it was better for the pitches, right? Get more sink with more of that, that kind of humidity. So now that I'm on the broadcasting side, I like it a little cooler, honestly, since I got to wear collared shirts like this, which I'm not a fan.
But, like, what happens if you're going to a festival or an amusement park with the family and the kids and all of that, and you're walking around? Are you like, oh, man, I'm glad it's like 80, 85, man, this is good? Or you're like, man, why can't it be like 65? That would be much more comfortable.
Well, I always think about it, like when it's the winter time and it's so cold, I'm complaining. And, if I'm complaining when it's hot, it's the same thing. So when I keep in mind, if I'm too hot, I'm like, you know what, I will be okay with this, 4 months, 5 months from now. So, yeah, I don't really care either way.
Yeah, all right, very good. All right, let's talk about Jacob Misiorowski, because people are saying I'm overreacting. I know you're shocked. People are saying I'm overreacting. But, man, I watched this first, handful of starts. All is good. Last night, his velocity was on the money in the first inning, and then you saw the numbers go from over 100, so all of a sudden it's 98, 97, 96. And by the time he left after his 3 1/3 or whatever else, you're right, or more around 95, 96, somewhere in that area. I didn't hear anybody else really talk about the velocity. I mean, I don't think he topped 100 after the first inning of the rest of the game. Any reason to be concerned there? Because in his first 2 outings, he was over 100 pretty much the entire run of his outing.
No, I don't think so. I mean, from what I saw, I think they jumped him a little bit. I think maybe 3 of the 5 hits he gave up were on first pitch. He was very close to getting out of the situation. Ball just went over his glove. And sometimes you throw a pitch, the guy gets a hit. Now, maybe the juices kind of wore off as the game went on, because watching it, I thought maybe he sacrificed some miles per hour just to throw more strikes, because he was missing arm side a lot. Usually the remedy for that is to keep your left shoulder closed if you're right-handed, but also you can say, hey, I'm going to sacrifice a couple miles per hour to kind of try to pinpoint where I want it. Either way, I think he'll be fine. I don't think there's cause for concern at all.
So, has a pitching coach ever recommended that, as far as, why don't you take a little something off here if you're missing location? And then how hard is that to do if you're a pitcher, to try to take a little something off but not too much off at the same point to find that accuracy? To me, it feels like you could really get in a pitcher's head quickly and really get him screwed up even more.
Yeah, I had most pitching coaches are like, that's all you got? You can't throw harder than that? Unbelievable. No, I mean, honestly, when you try to do more, it doesn't work. In baseball, if you've never hit a ball 500 feet, then why are you trying to hit a ball 500 feet? If you've never thrown 105, don't try to throw 105. Stay within yourself. You hear this all the time, but the definition of that is in the moment with what you have and how you feel, try to make a pitch. That's really all it is. Or if you're up to bat, know the situation, try to put a ball in play. It's just very simple stuff. Stay within yourself. I think he was a little bummed out after the grand slam. I think Lindor capitalized on that with the next homer, and then I think he settled down after that. He was fine. He could have kept going for sure, and I think the velocity would have been back up and been fine. But I think he was searching for the adjustment that he needed to make and probably just couldn't find it in the moment.
Talking with Tim Dillard, FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analyst, as we broadcast live here at Summerfest. Here comes the drum line playing, and this is from the movie Drumline, y'all. They played this in the movie Drumline. This is actually from the movie. And these kids can't be more than, I don't know, 13, 14, maybe? They're definitely not older than maybe middle school, freshman year of high school, maybe. They're pretty good, man.
Yeah.
They're pretty good, Tim Dillard. A lot of drum lines walking around Summerfest out here doing their thing. Let me ask you another thing about Jacob Mizorowski, because this was brought up to me by Tommy Wertz, who produces our Mason Crosby show and also produces our Pack a Day radio show, but he hosts our leadoff show before every game. He said, I wish they would just keep him with one catcher and let him work with one guy. Just say, Eric Haas is your guy, you're getting Eric Haas every time, versus 2 with Eric Haas and 2 with William Contreras. What say you to that?
Well, I mean, it's just been 4 outings. There's no reason to jump to conclusions in any direction. Don't throw the jump to conclusions mat down at all. He spoke very highly of Haas after the game, and it was a doubleheader. Contreras gets priority, right? If Freddie wants Contreras behind the dish, he's going to be behind the dish. Is he going to catch a doubleheader? I don't really see it necessary for that to happen. Got to think that Haas and Mizorowski maybe worked together some, either in spring training or in AAA last year. They've already thrown with each other this year. I mean, these guys get on the same game plan. It's not that big a deal. I mean, yeah, you want to have the same catcher every time. Everybody wants Eddie Perez behind the dish, and everybody wants to throw like Greg Maddux. But, we don't live in that world, Peter Pan. We got to grow up. So when it comes to it, you work with what you have, regardless of your feelings either way, and you compete. And I just think that he's probably feeling like there was a lot left in the tank. And you know what? That's the problem with a starting pitcher. You got to wait so many days to get back out there. And especially when you figure out whatever the adjustment was or whatever the mindset was, you're like, man, I can't wait to get back out there. So that's what you're going to get next time out. A guy that says, hey, that was a blip on the radar. No big deal. Down to business. Here we go.
That's exactly right. And that's the one thing for me that I really am interested in seeing here is the next time out. This time out, he had an extra day of rest by how this whole thing played out. He had Skeens in the afternoon, and then he had an extra day of rest. If you're the Brewers, do you want to keep him on that same amount of rest every time, where instead of having it's on 4 days rest, maybe it's 5 days rest every time? Are you okay mixing it up from week to week? How does that work when you're dealing with a starting pitcher that's very young like he is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care either which way they go. As guys are healthy and want to pitch, keep them in order. I just saw Adam McCalvy's tweet that looks like Quintana tonight, should probably know that, Quinn Priester the next day, Chad Patrick, and then Brandon Woodruff making his season debut. So, how it shapes up after that, if it's going to be Freddie and then Mizorowski again, who knows? But, I mean, there's so much going on behind the scenes. You can't just sit there and go, this guy, this guy, this guy. There's off days. There's better matchups. There's guys that need a day. It comes down to like bullpen session, how guys bounce back. And they have the liberty to be able to do this with so many starters now. So good for them.
Talking with Tim Dillard, FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analyst. Follow him on Twitter at Dim Tillard here. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you on the Fan. Have you ever been in a 6-man rotation at any point? And if the answer is yes, did you like it more than a 5-man rotation? Because there's been some talk of maybe they go to a 6-man rotation at some point.
I mean, honestly, I didn't care. I wanted to pitch every day. One of my best seasons was 2019 in AAA, where I was starting one game and then 2 days off. I was instead of throwing a bullpen, I was pitching out of the bullpen in a game. And then a day later, I was starting again. So I like that. I like being on the mound. I never had an issue. I don't know if I'm a unicorn in that way, but there's some guys that throw way harder that need way more rest, right? Like they just have way better electric stuff. But I remember CC Sabathia did not like throwing a bunch of bullpens when he was with the Brewers. He's like, I want to pitch, and instead of having a bullpen session, I want to just pitch again in a few days. Like that was his mindset. And I remember thinking, I wonder if you could put together a 4-man rotation of somebody like CC Sabathia at that time, maybe R.A. Dickey with the knuckleball. You know, some of those guys that can just throw. They can throw all day, every day. That's all they want to do is throw. I think those guys are rare. I mean, will it go to a 6-man rotation? Who knows? These things usually figure themselves out.
No doubt about it. He is Tim Dillard. I got one last one for you. I feel like we've talked about him the last couple of weeks, but Isaac Collins, man, my goodness gracious, man. I mean, 4 for 4 that one game yesterday with a walk, a home run. I mean, this guy, again, I know there's multiple stories, but he definitely is one of the top stories of the year.
I think he's started 43 games now for the Brewers. He has started 43 games, and I believe the Brewers are 32-12 when he plays.
That's without looking at anything. Dillard did that off the top of his mind. I watched his brain work just now on YouTube. That was really impressive, Tim Dillard. That was good.
They pay me to find this weird stuff about stats and everything. And listen, you can ask why or how or whatever. It could mean a bunch of different things. Maybe when he starts, he's in left, means Contreras is behind the dish, and means Yelich is DHing. So maybe that's the best matchup. I don't know. Either way, the guy's a gamer. We saw him crash into the wall the other day. His defense is spectacular right now. He throws to the right base. He hits his cutoff man. The ball doesn't get by him. And then on the offensive side, he hits from both sides of the plate, and he knows the situation. So he's a kid that, as long as he's healthy, run him out there because he can play.
He is Tim Dillard. Follow him on Twitter at Dim Tillard. Anything you want to promote on the way out here, my friend? What would you like to promote? Anything you got going on?
I don't know. Watch our pregame show today.
And
every day on FanDuel Sports Network.
Craig Kashani, y'all do a great job. Just Vinny Rottino, y'all do a great job. I love it. Take care, Tim. I appreciate you.
All right. See you, Sparky.
There he is, Tim Dillard, joining us. Follow him on Twitter at Dim Tillard. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Here comes another drum line. We'll take a quick break. Back after this on The Fan. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Broadcasting here at Summerfest. Hole-in-one challenge right along the water, that island hole. Come take your shots at the hole-in-one. Have a chance to win a bunch of great prizes. Also going to win great prizes with Us Days going on right now with U.S. Cellular. That's right, their exclusive event to collaborate loyal customers with unique offers. This includes big discounts on new phones and tablets, plus other giveaways and events like parking lot parties. We're talking about DJs and food trucks and bag games. Everybody does it differently. Find the nearest parking lot party during US Days right now at different U.S. Cellular stores across the country. All you have to do to find out which one is closest to you is go to uscellularparty.com, uscellularparty.com through July 16th. If you can't make it to a party, customers who visit the store or check out the website can check out the best upgrade offers of the season to them. I know I've been getting text messages throughout this whole thing. I've been a customer for over a decade with U.S. Cellular. I will never, ever go anywhere else. I've had nothing but great experiences with U.S. Cellular. I don't fight with customer service reps. I always get questions answered. If I have a problem with my phone, they're able to fix it or tell me what the next steps are. Like, I don't know. I don't foresee myself ever leaving U.S. Cellular. So make sure to check them out today. Again, uscellularparty.com. Time for Charlie's Sounds of the Day.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on The Fan.
All right, Charlie Houston, you tell me, my friend, what 3 clips did we pick for today? I'm at Summerfest. We have no local programming tomorrow on July 4th, right? We're going to be in Infinity Sports Network all day tomorrow, July 4th. All of our shows will be back on Monday. The leadoff show tonight at 5 o'clock with Tommy Wirtz out here, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. The big old hunk of love, women fawning all over him out here already. So he'll be out here from 5 until 6. What's up, buddy? And then we will have Tommy Wirtz, with the leadoff show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on Saturday, on Sunday. Then all the shows return again on Monday. You can stream all of these shows live on YouTube now by simply going to youtube.com/@TheFanMilwaukee. Use that @ symbol, @TheFanMilwaukee. You stream all the shows on The Fan each and every day. Pack a Day Radio Show, 8 to 9 with Andy Herman. Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis. Brought to you by Verizon, the number one in the market in Milwaukee, 9 to 11. Then we, of course, have, what's that guy's name again? NFL Network. What's his name? What is his name?
Chad Ryder?
Whoa. No, Chad Ryder doesn't do his own show on the station from 11 to 2.
Network?
No, 11 to 2. Who hosts from 11 to 2? Rich Eisen, that's his name. Thanks for helping me. Rich Eisen is hosting the show from 11 to 2. I don't understand how you could possibly listen to me say, no, he doesn't host 11 to 2 and go, I'm confused. Rich Eisen, 11 to 2. And then this show from 2 to 5, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Chad Ryder of NFL.com that he just brought up joins us coming up at 4 o'clock during our Green and Gold update. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. All right, what's your first clip in Charlie's Sounds of the Day?
Sometimes you get rambling and I get lost. I'm looking at other things, so
you're working. I understand. That's fine. Go ahead.
First up here, since I'm going to be gone, we're going to be off there tomorrow. I'm not going to be on there Monday. I wanted to make
Where are you going?
I'm going to be going to Door County, spending some time with my girlfriend, just hanging out for the 4th of July weekend.
Sister Bay Bowl, man. Sister Bay Bowl. Have to do it.
I'll check it out. But yes. I wanted to make at least the first one very special for you. I know you've been talking about how much you love this guy all week. This is Bill Simmons and Rob Mahoney on the Bill Simmons Show.
No, I'm not really. No.
I don't think you're going to disagree with them wholeheartedly on this.
No,
they were discussing the NBA CBA and why they are not a fan of it.
The new CBA is just an apocalypse. It's one of the worst things that I can remember in any pro sports league. How it played out this way, where you have good teams basically sabotaging themselves. Yeah, because they're so afraid of these penalties that I don't know who wanted. I don't know who the penalties serve other than the owners.
Like I said before,
a check and a balance for them not to spend too much money. That seems to be the only positive. I just don't think this is good for anybody to have teams sabotaging themselves to save money. That's a bad place to be in as a league.
For the solution to the super team free agent movement to make it basically impossible for contenders to sustain over time, feels like a real misallocation of what actually just happened. Like we're trying to solve a problem by ultimately crippling the one actual solution is like internal development, teams' ability to retain their own players. And the current CBA basically makes that model prohibitive to the point that, teams like the Celtics are not just incentivized, but there is almost no logical explanation for why they would not take a gap year under these circumstances. Like they need the relief.
Stop this. This is stupid. Stop it. This is why I don't want this idiot played on this radio station. He's a moron. And again, not only is he a moron, he's an East Coast moron that does nothing but talk about, oh, my Celtics, oh, Boston, this. Shut up. Like, I'm so sick of this. Listen, I understand. You're crying because the Celtics have to be imploded because of all of this that's put in place. You're crying because the new owners coming in don't want to spend all the money like the previous owners did. And I get it. A lot of people don't want to spend all the money like the Bucks are spending. But to come at me and tell me that this is screwing up the NBA and that this is a bad deal, okay, I guess. But I'll tell you one thing. If baseball had something like this, we would not have all the salary disparity that we currently have in the game of Major League Baseball. They do not have a hard cap in the NBA, right? Like the NFL does. So because they don't want to agree to a hard cap, Bill Simmons, that's on the players. They don't want to agree to a hard cap. Cool. Then we're going to put this into place where you have one apron, you have two aprons. Not only do you pay a penalty, but you get penalized when it comes down to whether or not you can make a trade, who you can sign, who you can do this with and that with. Yes, it screws you up. And do you know why this is good for the NBA? Because nobody can sustain this for a long time. It's going to bring everybody back down. And to Bill Simmons' point of, wow, how can you develop from within? You did develop from within. You developed Jason Tatum. You developed Brown, right? You developed both those guys. You made a move for Jrue Holiday. That was on you. And then paid him a stupid amount of money. That's on you, Boston. You made a move for Porzingis. You knew you were putting yourself in this situation. You chose to do it anyhow, trying to win a ring, knowing you were going to have to blow. And now we're here. Cry me a river. Really, seriously, cry me a river. Go find a different owner. Instead of this guy that just bought you, see if the Bucks owners are interested. Because these guys, they're going to spend the cows come home, apparently, which is fine. That's what they want to do. But otherwise, yes, it's not going to allow somebody to dominate the NBA for 10 years and sit at the top forever. That's not going to happen in the NBA. That is good for the NBA, not bad. Go ahead.
That's what they want. And I think when you look at what the Boston Celtics are doing right now, it's actually kind of exciting. There's a lot of teams that really just bury themselves and then will sit buried. This is them trying to make a move and change things up. You should be excited that they're at least trying to make something happen with your star player out right now. Like, this is what people want out of the NBA. Why are we constantly trying to find things to complain about in the NBA? Again, this doesn't happen in the NFL. This doesn't happen in the MLB the same way. It only happens in the NBA. Just enjoy what we're seeing right now and the strategy that these GMs are going through and what they're doing to stay competitive. It's crazy.
And I love it because knuckleheads like him will kill Shaq, will kill Barkley. Why do you talk bad about the NBA? You're killing the product. And then he says dumb stuff like that. Like, again, see, that's why I tell you, do not play or talk about Bill Simmons on this radio show. It's just a waste of everybody's time, raises my blood pressure for no damn good reason. I could have just not had that stress in my life, but no, you have to add to it because you think it's funny. Let's see Sparky fall over and keel over at Summerfest. Okay, what's the second one?
All right, next up here, we're going to hear from NBA analyst Tim Legler. He was on the Awful Announcing podcast. I didn't realize you didn't like Tim Legler either.
Go ahead.
He was on
it's not Bill Simmons.
No,
better
it's
than
not.
Bill Simmons.
He was discussing what it's like to rehab without being on a team. They were discussing Damian Lillard as a free agent.
There's no question about it. Yeah, that's a really difficult thing to do. I can tell you, and they've gotten a lot better with this in the NBA. When I hurt my knee, there is an isolation factor to it, even though you're on the team.
Yeah.
You're not around them to the same extent. They're in the gym practicing, lifting weights, doing all that. I wasn't even at a facility that was my rehab facility was not part of our practice facility. I was a half an hour away, 40 minutes away, where I was driving every day to a rehab clinic where you were in there with people that were also just in there from regular walks of life. I remember becoming friends with a guy on the next table that was coming back from an ACL that had an office job that tore his knee up playing in men's league. And now here we are, both getting rehabbed at the same place. So you were isolated. You weren't traveling with the team. That's like the biggest part of the camaraderie and the bonding is going on those road trips. So there's an isolation factor even when you are part of a team. When you're not, I imagine, you can feel really detached from it all. And I think for a guy like Damian Lillard, ultimately it's just keeping your eye on the big prize. If you want to come back, and that is your goal, think about what could be waiting for you at the end of this. And the reward that you could have. Imagine if he goes to a team and he is a difference maker. They win a title. Who knows? And how rewarding that would be to come back from the depths of this. It's as low as it gets. Was when he planted that foot in that tour. It's as low as it gets for Damian Lillard. to end up with that at the end, I think you'd learn a lot about yourself and your perseverance.
With all due respect to Tim Legler, we are not in the early 19 to mid 1990s. Tim Legler's salaries $140,000 in 92-93. Let's see here, $250 in 93-94. $250 in 95-96, $450, $1.1 million, $1.3, $1.1, $510,000. Damian Lillard's making like $52 million a year the last couple of years. I don't think he is going to be going and rehabbing next to Charlie. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's what's happening in Portland. I really don't. I don't think he's going to have to go through everything Tim Legler went through to try and get stuff done because there's not an NBA training staff around him. I think he'll be okay. I think the rehab will be okay. It'll be done in private, not in the general population like Tim Legler was concerned about. And the mental side will be great. Why? Because he's home with his kids. He gets to spend the summer with his kids. Like, don't feel bad for Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, by all accounts, are happy. And I get why he's happy, right? You get paid $23 million for the next 5 years to not even play basketball if you choose you don't want to. If you choose you do want to play basketball, guess what? You get to pick where you want to play. And guess what else? You can play for the veteran minimum because you're already making $23 million every year. So you don't even have to go out there and seek some gigantic contract. You already have teams lining up to sign him. Like Golden State's interested. Yeah, if I could get Damian Lillard on a veteran minimum for 2 or 3 years, heck yeah, I'd take Damian Lillard, as would every other Bucks fan if you could get him for the minimum. So, again, Damian Lillard will be fine. Maybe Damian Lillard will win a ring. If he does, I'll be happy for him. I have no ill will towards Damian Lillard whatsoever. So, yeah, he's fine. I wouldn't worry about him, Tim Legler.
What if he wins it on the Pacers, Sparky?
He won't sign with the Pacers. Don't even bring that up. That's not funny.
It's kind of
What's
funny.
next? No,
next
not
up,
funny.
Next up, we're going to head over to the Believe in Badgers podcast, where former Badgers quarterback John Stocco was on the show, and he was discussing the Badgers' new offense under Jeff Grimes.
In a lot of ways, compared to what Coach Longo did, it's almost completely different in the pass game, I would say, and just overall philosophy. His main scheme is the wide zone. That's kind of what he hangs his hat on, and that's actually what Coach Longo, when he did run the ball, they ran a decent amount of wide zone last year. Now, they might coach it differently. They might be different in techniques and things like that, but I think there's going to be some consistency there, which I think is going to be good for these guys in trying to come back to a more physical run-the-ball mentality. He runs a lot of misdirection. So you have wide zone, stretching the field, let's say to the right, and then you'll have a guy coming in motion and a jet sweep, either getting the ball or faking the ball going to the left. So if you're a defender, a linebacker, it just puts a lot of stress on you. You don't know, where the ball is necessarily going to go. So I like that element. And then he attacks the field vertically in play action. So I think there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot to like. Yes, a lot of it's going to be different, but some of those key elements are still going to be consistent from last year, which I think is exciting.
I don't think it's exciting. I'm glad he's excited about it. I don't think I'm excited about it. I want to get Stocco on the show, so I'm not going to rip Stocco. But, I don't know. We talked about this, Charlie, you and I, as far as running out of the gun, running out of the pistol. And that is what this is probably going to be. I just don't think you're going to have Billy Edwards, lining up under center and handing off the ball. I don't think that's going to be the case. You're going to be running out of the same type of formations you were running with under Longo. Maybe you're going to run more out of that formation. Maybe there's more play action, but it's going to look kind of similar to a certain degree. They have to run the football with Wisconsin to be successful. And Billy Edwards transfer in. I saw another list the other day, Charlie. Top quarterbacks in the Big Ten coming into the season. Billy Edwards was like 14th or something like that on the list of top Big Ten quarterbacks.
That's not really exciting.
No. It's like, again, but, recruit and develop. No, we're going to continue to use the transfer portal for average to below average players and see what happens. They're not going to go to a bowl game, none of that stuff. Grimes was in Kansas 1 year and he was gone. If Grimes is successful here at Wisconsin, I highly doubt he's past 1 year here at Wisconsin. I'm sure he'll be on his way somewhere else. So I don't think I would get too in love with whatever you see this year because I don't think he's going to stick around if it is successful. If it's not successful, I think then he comes back for another year. But then at that point, then Fickell's job is on the line too, going into that next season where they have a cake schedule. They should definitely be a bowl team. I think they should compete for a playoff spot at that point. Again, this year, probably not a bowl team. Following year, could contend for a playoff spot. If that doesn't happen, Fickell and everybody probably is out the door at that point, regardless, Charlie.
Yeah, Fickell's on a very warm seat here. And I think if Grimes is successful with his offense this year, even if he leaves, I don't know if that's fully a bad thing. I think all Fickell's looking for right now, and part of the reason he keeps switching the offense as quickly and as often as he is, and the school is as well, is because he's just looking for somebody to implement a basis for what this needs to be. That's why I think when you look at Longo's offense last year, it was very simple. It was very bare bones, not only because he didn't really have the talent on the roster, but because I think they're just looking for some kind of framework that works with what you can get for this roster. And right now what they can get is a Billy Edwards at quarterback. So what they're hoping is that Grimes, if he can implement some kind of offense, whether it's similar or not to Longo's offense, that has some kind of success, they know they can keep working with these transfer portal quarterbacks because that's who you get. You're not getting the star-studded prospects that are willing to stay more than 2 years at this point. So now you have to figure out how to win with these guys, and just a little bit different may be the difference for this team.
I just looked at my Twitter account here. Charlie.
What's up?
Kurt Hogue with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel from the Brewers. Luis Pena. Remember we were talking with him about Kevin Holden about Carolina Mudcats. Might be better than Made.
We were?
Yeah, he was hit by a pitch last night with Class A Carolina. X-ray showed no fracture, just a contusion on his left hand and wrist. Thank God.
Good news. That is
Thank goodness that he is okay. We'll get more on that, get more on Blake Perkins, more on all the other injury updates coming up on the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. That comes up at 5 o'clock live here from Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you by The Fan and Lexus. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Tommy Wirtz will be out here again from 5 to 6 as he is before every Brewers game. 1 hour before every game. Listen to The Fan. Get ready for the first pitch of the Brewers game. Get your starting lineups here from Pat Murphy. Take a look down as we build a winner on the minor league system as well, brought to you by the Iron Workers. Always a good time listening to that show. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, Chad Ryder of NFL.com will stop by and join us. He put together something. I want to know if it was his idea or if the NFL told him to do this. But he did a 7-round redraft of the entire National Football League. The first pick, I was okay with. The second pick, I was angry about. And then when I saw the second, it got like, you get push notifications on your phone or whatever. When I saw the second round pick, it was a quarterback, and I was disgusted. First of all, I don't think I would even have taken the quarterback. It was a 7-round draft, and he took the dude in the second round. In a redraft, everybody in the league is available, and he took this dude in the second round. Now, he does not know I'm this mad at him. He has no idea. But Chad Ryder's going to find out. He's already sitting there and off stage, waiting to get lit up by me. Look at his background. You see his background? He's got like an fancy NFL draft logo behind him and the whole deal. Man, oh man, oh man. We got the radio station logo here on YouTube, right? Stream us live, youtube.com/@thefanmilwaukee, youtube.com/@thefanmilwaukee. Use that @ symbol and come hang out with all of our local shows, whether it's the Pack-A-Day Radio Show with Andy Herman, the Mason Crosby Show weekday mornings from 9 to 11 here on The Fan as well with Mitch Thunder Nellis, presented to you by Verizon, number 1 in the Milwaukee market. All right, coming up next, we will hear from Chad Ryder of NFL.com here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the 1250 AM on 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, out here at Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge.